in earlier panels today with some of the earlier panels today with some of the sequels, one of the things that I don't know why it only dawned on me in like the last 20 years, but the original Friday the 13th really is on its own island from the rest of it. It was a whodunit. No one knew who the killer was. The choice to shoot the kills through the POV shot. The sequels all became more like traditional slasher movies as we know them. So for you, having made that first one, which launched this entire thing, which is one of the biggest franchises in the universe, watching everything else that came after it, how did you feel about that?
Me?
Yeah.
Great. Great. No, it was different. We were trying to build a suspenseful movie that had scares in it, and it was, I guess, wasn't really in the template of 10 Little Indians, something like that. You have a bunch of people and they start getting knocked off, and you say, "Oh, I wonder who's doing that." And that was meant to keep the audience's attention. And I found that thematically, the fear that we were playing with in the audience is in general the fear of untimely death, and that's something that all of us have someplace in, or as we're growing up. I'm sure that every one of you, there was a day in high school when you came in and you found out that so-and-so had just hit a motorcycle. It was in a motorcycle accident and died, or something happened, and it's like, and because that doesn't happen to us, especially when we're invulnerable teenagers. And as we get older, some of us stay with that feeling. And that, not to complicate it too much, but that's at the core of what I think a lot of this, where a lot of the structure came from. And but in the specific, Victor Miller and Steve Miner and I were saying, what are the things that your parents told you not to be afraid of? See, turn on the light. There's no monster in the closet. There's nobody under your bed. And you say, yeah, but in this movie there will be. And so you're giving flesh and blood to that, to the sense of trying to get the delight that comes from, as you're a kid, you jump out of the bushes and go boom, and then you scare somebody and everybody laughs, and that was sort of the box we were trying to put the movie into. I'm not even sure that the movie term slasher existed, so that it didn't. We weren't trying to get into the slasher bandwagon. It was just trying to come up with scary little bits, and we were very blessed to have Harry really working with us. I'll tell you one tiny anecdote. When we finished what's called the first cut of the movie, often you'll take the movie and you'll play it for friends and family just to get feedback. Is it interesting, or what did you see, and that kind of thing. And we had a cut very similar to what now as the cut of Friday the 13th. And it didn't go very well. It was like, yeah, it was very interesting.
That's a bad review.
Yeah, very well shot.
It's all in sync.
Yeah, and it's in color.
Yes.
But what we had screened was just dialogue. Then about a month later, maybe 6 weeks later, but I think it was about a month later, we had another screening of almost the same cut. And the difference was we had Harry's music in it and sound effects. and suddenly it just came alive. And it was such an aha moment to realize that you have an intention of trying to make an audience feel a certain way, but until you have score telling you how to feel, as often as not, you don't get there. And that's how we wound up with the cut that we had today. Anyway, that's blah blah blah.
But you guys had worked together at least twice before, right? On other films. So when it came to the Friday the 13th score, did you have something specific in mind, Sean, that you and Harry talked about?
I did. I said the most important thing is I've got to get Harry to do this score.
And so when you were putting this, I promise I won't make you tell the story one more time about the
Chorus?
that part. But just like the melodies and all that, did you
There's
wait?
a melody in there?
There's a theme.
Could you hum a little in it? I have no idea what you're talking about. There's a tune in the movie, yeah.
Yes. So did you just watch the cut and then, or did you already have
I just
ideas?
watched the cut and we looked at it and we decided that there was only gonna be music for The Killer. Any other place where there might be a musical sting or something, sorry, no music. I'll give you two examples. The girl is setting up the bullseye for the bow and arrow scene, and then there's the guy who's like the comic relief guy. He shoots an arrow into while she's standing there, the arrow goes right into the bullseye. Any other movie, there would have been a hit, a chord or something the size of Pittsburgh to scare the hell out of you. No music at all. There's a scene at the beginning where Adrian, what's her name in the movie?
Alice?
Alice is fixing the gutters or something kind of thing, and Steve, the guy, is the owner. He's sitting there, and they're talking back and forth, and he looks and Adrian's quite a good artist, and there's a picture, a drawing of him, and he says, "Do I look like this?" And she says, "That's the way you looked last night." And then she walks by, okay? And as she walks by, he puts his hand on her cheek as she goes by. I mean, what more do you need for a music cue? No music. So we really specifically kept it with The Killer. And what happened as a result of that decision we made, the music became a character. It was no longer score. It was really just the character, this incredibly scary camp and somebody out there knocking people off. That's what I have to say about that.
And for Noel and Jessica, you guys grew up in this world basically, like, and watched it all happen, and you've worn several different hats, like helping with production, helping all kinds of things. To be at the 45th anniversary, like, what does that feel like?
Old.
This is the world.
Fucking old. Yeah, I mean, it's because, I mean, we've, like you said, grown up with it. We've been, Sean tried to make us actors, and there's a couple of movies that show that was a terrible idea as children. I mean, just god awful. But it's, something that's been a part of our lives the whole time. Dad went to work with cameramen and grip and electric, and so it's like kind of growing up on the carnival or the circus or but it's, it was thinking 45 years. It's like, it's all this stuff that everybody's here to see today comes from that summer in 1979. It's just whole careers and stuff that really kind of cool. But, you know, since it's just what we grew up with, or at least for me, it's like, yeah, no, it's cool, but, you know, whatever.
Well, what would have made it even cooler, some of you guys might know this story, but you were almost Jason.
Yes, and if you were here at the Q&A yesterday, there's a shot of Jason, it's a flashback in Pamela Voorhees' mind, with a kid drowning in the lake. And that's Ari, it was always Ari. But Sean decided he wanted to put that end where the Jason comes up, and you probably know what I'm talking about. And it was October at this point, and Sean was like, well, my son's here, I'll just have him do it. My mother said, no way my son is getting in that water in New Jersey in October all day. Get somebody else. He's like, all right. Ari? He's like, yeah, I'll come. Like, well, you all know who Ari is a lot more than you know who I am. I had to pay for a lot of drinks in my life that would have been free otherwise. But, yeah, so that's... it's just, but you know, if anybody knew the lightning in the bottle that this thing was going to be, I'm sure my mother would have said, all right, get him in the water, I'll give him shake his head. Yeah, he can have some chicken soup.
Well, it's easy for the rest of us to look at this enormous thing that's almost gone 5 decades at this point and just love all of it. But it's so hard to keep something going. I think there's a misconception in Hollywood, if something was successful, just make another one and you build it, they'll come. But Friday the 13th, it hasn't been just the same thing over and over again. In fact, after Jason Takes Manhattan, Sean, when you really came back like hands-on for Jason Goes to Hell, the way you did, and that was a risky way to tell a Jason story. But you did it. Jason X, now we're gonna send him to space. In the moment, it's like, what are they gonna do? But it always worked.
Well,
What's the key?
Those two, Noel had a particularly strong hand in both of those, but particularly Jason X, where he just had this notion of, what can we do with Jason that people haven't seen before? And you can...
Yeah, there was a number of, God, it's been a while, so I remember it's Jason in the Hood. You know, and we had all these dreamed of scenarios, and it was just everything. And it was like Jason in space, and like, yeah, I know. I think come up with some others, but the Jason in space one, also we're big fans of the movie Aliens.
Yeah.
You watch them side by side; they're a little identical. Yeah, and Jason Goes to Space just had a lot of fun stuff, and you know, it's kind of cringe, but you know, they did Leprechaun in space, you know, and that's like the last resort. But we actually, you know, the original script was big. It was so big we couldn't shoot it, but it was like a real action-packed slasher movie. And you know, what we delivered was you know, it was okay, and but it had great kills and good fun, and you know, there's some things, of course, in hindsight, I wish we'd done completely differently, but it was a lot of fun, and let's just try to breathe some new life. And it was always kind of considered to be a one-off, and it's just like, yeah, the Jason universe is going on over here, because we were also doing Freddy versus Jason at the time in development, and this was just kind of like, well, let's do one that's its own little thing, and that's kind of was what we did.
I think that's gotta be one of the biggest challenges with sequels, because there's a portion of the audience that wants what they know. And at the same time, if you only do that, then it's just more of the same. So you have to take some risks. You gotta try to go to new places with it. And sometimes at first, the original audience gets a little, you know, possessive of it. Oh, well, no. Just keep having them kill counselors. But I think in hindsight, you look back, and we're also grateful that you took those big swings, and there is so much variety to something, and it isn't always just the same thing.
Yeah.
How many people here have seen Jason X.
God bless you.
You're all here.
It's got one of the best kills in the franchise with the.
The best kill, one of the best kills ever, but it's.
I
it's
do
a
like the
way
guy
better-
spinning on the big corkscrew though.
That was good too,
Yeah.
but slamming that face into
Yeah, the head smashes.
Right, that was great.
Quentin Tarantino actually said that was his favorite kill, and that's like, I'm
The-
like, all right, I'll take that.
That movie is a better movie than it's being given credit for. It's really a good movie. And one of the problems that it had, and I know, is that it sat on the shelf a long time
Yeah, about a
after
year
it was
and a
made.
half.
It would have been, if it had come out immediately, I think it would have just really had a lot of people go to it. Because it's entertaining, it's clever, there were so many cool things. I forgot about the corkscrew, that was. But the thing was, the girl with the thing, I met her finally at a convention.
Mhm.
Nicest person in the world.
I know, she's adorable.
She's adorable. She's a midwife. She's like a nurse. But the thing is, what always gets to me is the character. She was such a bitch in that movie. I couldn't wait to kill her. I was just going like, I can't wait to get her. And then having that really cool frozen effect with the. But anyway, and that's all I have to say.
What he said.
Look, over the years, there had to have been at least several moments that we know of where it seemed like maybe Jason was dead. Maybe that really was it. And somehow you guys kept going forward. Even after stretches of years where for us it seemed like hope was lost. What were those years like with it? Especially when it's something that is so popular, that everyone loves, and then you have Suits being like, yeah.
I don't know, we got sick of it and then we made Jason Goes to Hell. I mean, but that is kind of what happened. I mean, I wasn't really involved in, between, I guess, 4 through 7. Jeez, not that many. But yeah, it's, we wanted to do Freddy Jason, and we thought that was gonna be a lot of fun, and while we were trying to figure out that story, we did, all right, well, let's do Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, and set up Freddy, the claw coming up. But yeah, it was just, I mean, those intervening years, we were also doing others, and Sean was doing House. And so it wasn't in our house at that time. And, at some level, I'm sure, I've never talked to him about it, but you do a bunch of these movies and you go, okay, I want to do something else. The fans want to see something else, but you as, a creative person want to stretch your legs and do some other things. But then we got back into it.
As people behind one of the most successful and famous of all of the villains, let's say, horror's gone through so many phases since Friday the 13th came out. First, everyone was trying to be Friday the 13th. Then it moved into like teen whodunit, PG-13 slasher movies, which if there's not going to be blood and guts, I don't get it. But then there was, even as recently as the last 20 years, there was the J-horror thing. Everything had to be a remake for fans to pay to go see it phase. Torture porn. Watching all the different phases that it's gone through, do you have any opinions on that? Is there any of it that you liked?
They all suck. That's my opinion.
I can give you a couple of thoughts on that. I think the quote-unquote Suits, looking from the outside in, they're not necessarily horror fans, but they think that the reason people go to see the horror movie is the amount of blood and specific gore that might take place. And so somebody has a hit movie and kills 12 people. We say, I got a great idea. We're gonna do a movie just like that and kill 14 people. And it'll be great. They've never seen that before. Now, and then somehow or other that movie often gets made. But going back to the root causes and things you might not be aware of. It's very easy in Starbucks to say, they don't have any imagination left in Hollywood. It's just one tired remake after the next. And you could certainly look at that as being true in many cases. But here's the thing, if you say that you're going to do a movie called Terrifiers 5, right? You've told the audience what to expect, and it's going to be a certain kind of movie with certain kind of effects and so on. And the challenge in making that movie is to satisfy the audience, but make it different enough that it feels like you saw something fresh. And I guess the best example of that would have been the difference between Alien and Aliens. You know, and they're very much, you know, strange things going on in space. But they were such distinctly different stories. Nobody felt ripped off because of Cameron's Aliens. But I think that the challenge in I'm going to say scary movies and horrors lumped into that is that you have to create a story that's engaging to the audience, not the new special effect. That's, well, you know, have a new special effect, great. You know, every James Bond has a new motorcycle going off a cliff or something. But nevertheless, you're telling a story that sucks us in, and we go along with it, and we root for somebody to get out of trouble. And you know, and to the extent that you tell a story while you're doing that, opens the door for, I think, the success or unexpected success of many films. The reason that they choose, or to say, we're going to do a sequel of such and such, because it has brand recognition. And that's because when you make a movie in today's world which has movie theaters and very high expenses to open a movie, it can cost $35, $40 million to open the movie, not to make the movie. If the movie was made for $2 million or $3 million, almost doesn't make any difference. It's still going to cost you $35 million to open it because nobody's ever heard of it before, right?
And those are the small movies.
Yeah.
I mean, Barbie, I think, spent $1 billion on marketing.
This doesn't seem like it.
Worldwide.
But you have to have, so when you say I'm going to do, you know, Beverly Hillbillies reboot or something like that, well, you know what to expect from Beverly Hillbillies, and you better have that. As our friend Louis Abernathy used to call it, it's a hamburger movie. There's sometimes when you get up and you're doing stuff and you want a hamburger and you go and you get a hamburger. You don't go and get some special tartar sauce soy burger, right? And somebody behind the counter saying, "Here, try this. This is gonna be really good for you." No, you want a hamburger. You get
Big
the
Mac.
hamburger.
I want a big fucking Mac. It's food, but that's what I want.
Right. And
Don't give me some Kobe, thinly sliced thing with caramelized onion. Ooh, that sounds fucking good right now.
so, but it's you know, you promise the audience a hamburger, you're going to give them a hamburger, and so within that form, the challenge becomes how do you become creative and interesting and still tell a story that pulls you in and makes you glad that you spent the 2 hours of your time.
It's a comfort in going back to what you know in a way, a different version of it, the way that CSI or NCIS or, you know, every week it's, you know what you're gonna get. And, you know, it varies every week, but the foundation is still there.
Yes, the guy you meet at minute 14 is a killer.
One of the most remarkable things about the Friday the 13th story is that it really did start with just the title. And then you figured everything else out. But it's like that old Roger Corman thing of like, I got a title and a poster, all right, good, here's the money, go make the movie or whatever. But in your case, you had the name Friday the 13th, and then wasn't it an ad in Variety before there was even a script?
We did, I wasn't sure that, it would be okay to make a movie called Friday the 13th. I wanted to find out, if anybody was gonna stop me if I tried to make the movie. So I figured the most efficient way to do it is I took out a great big ad in Variety and said, Friday the 13th, the most terrifying film ever made, coming December or something like that. That was all. And what we got was a whole bunch of positive responses from distributors really around the world. But I never got a single lawyer's call or anybody saying, you can't do that. And so armed with that, we were just going forward, like, just trying to figure it out. It's always a question of, you have a plan going in, but that's just gonna fall apart within hours, or certainly within days. And so you have to just figure it out and stay between the guardrails.
Do you guys
Gary?
have questions?
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I was wondering, is there a cut of Friday the 13th that's like, not the released ones or the director's cut or something, like one that's like so rough from like before the MPAA fucked it all up and or some of the big wig producers may have said like, oh, we can't do that or something like that, like, like Ned's kill is never really exposed. Is there a cut of that, and is there ever?
I would love to tell you that story, but it's not true. I started wrestling with the MPAA back when it first created the rating system, and we had done a movie called Last House on the Left, and that had serious MPAA or would have, but it was one of the first movies that they okayed.